Welcome back to Oathbound Gaming. Today we're looking at Tormented Souls. Tormented Souls is a throwback to your classic survival horrors, like your Silent Hill and your Resident Evil, not the modern day Resident Evils. I wish I could say not the modern day Silent Hills, but we don't have any of those. So this is a kickback, throwback to them classics that I know and love. We're going to start off by looking at the options, we'll jump into gameplay, and then at the end of the video we're going to do pros, cons, and final thoughts. Getting started on the options, general, we just have choosing our language. Controller, we have our controller settings, and then if we change slot A to slot B, you'll see B and A buttons on the controller swap. I'm going to be playing with the mouse and keyboard, and unfortunately there are no options to adjust the keybind settings for a mouse and keyboard, which is something I always look for. It's a shame it doesn't have it. But if we go into graphic settings, I do like that we can turn off motion blur and film grain. I'm not a fan of either of those settings, so being able to turn them off is great. And then we have our basic sound settings. But enough about that, let's get started. So right off the bat, early on in the game, you're going to find yourself starting in this room. This is where you start the game. I'm not going to spoil the cinematic right beforehand because you should experience that yourself. It's pretty cool. Now, I want to show you something real quick, and it's about the controls. I'm going to hit W, and I'm going to ask you, which way am I going to move when I hit W? There. And this is S. And I'm going to turn around. Now this is W. This is S. So the direction will always be towards the way she's facing when you hit W. It's not going to be like away from the screen because you're running forward, right? So this stays true to the classic survival horror control scheme. That might not work for everyone. I love it. I prefer it this way. This is like the true classic control scheme. And if you don't like it, I highly suggest playing with a controller, because it would feel not necessarily better, but different with the two sticks. You can turn separately from W, from A and D, and move with the other stick. And it controls pretty well. It plays well with both mouse and keyboard. Now, first thing I'm going to do in this room is I'm going to open this cabinet here. You use your mouse to interact with some puzzles. I'm going to click this here and grab myself an old pocket watch. I'm going to click this button on top. You can interact with the items you find. See? So you can look around, find some information on there, and be like, oh, what is that? Time stood still when my two angels fell from heaven. So I turn here, say, oh, time. That's what? That's 12:35, right? It's about 12:35. Now, there is a document in this room that we can grab, and if you read it, you'll get some hint saying, let's see. The glass cracked. He's talking about his pocket watch. She started using an hour as her lucky number. So we got 12:35, right? So you get some hint on how to complete puzzles in the game if you read some text. So I hope you like reading, all right? Because that will be required for some puzzles. 12:35 will unlock our lock, and that's the first puzzle in the game. So I hope you don't feel cheated that I spoiled the first puzzle for you. There we go. I won't spoil any more puzzles, I promise. And we got our wrench. All right, let's move on. Very early on in the game, you're going to find yourself a lighter. That is going to be quite important because the darkness can kill you. And I'll show you something real quick. My screen's going to begin to haze up like that, and I'm going to back out. But if I stand in there long enough, it will kill me. So I can go, equip my lighter, and make my way through the darkness. During your travels through the game, you're going to find some rooms that have some very calming music. We know what that means, right? If you're fans of the classic survival horror, that's a save room, right? Yes, it is. Well, it plays just like the classic, like Resident Evil. Remember the ink ribbons where they limit the amount of saves you have? Well, we can put on this little tape and hit the record button, and it allows us to manually save the game, which is awesome. It's a throwback to the classics, right? Love it. Pretty early on in the game, you're going to find yourself with your first weapon. That is going to be this nail gun. A nail gun. And they have a pretty clever way of telling you the controls for your weapons once you obtain it, right? So there's no actual controls shown in game except for the controller in the options. For some reason, there's no keyboard controls shown. But they actually show you here, like right-click to ready your gun, right-click plus left-click to fire, and if you hit shift while you're holding right-click, you'll do a backstep. And sure enough, that actually works. And you could dodge enemy attacks with that. But what are the enemies like? have a feeling we're gonna see one here. So we can go ahead and shoot this dude in the wheelchair. And one thing you'll notice, the game does that lock-on type of thing, like in old Resident Evil. How it'll automatically turn towards the enemy. I'm gonna hit R to reload. And we're gonna shoot this guy until he stays down. Alright? Alright, he's done. That's one of the enemy types in this game. One of the things that irks me a little bit about the game is the lack of a keybind to quickly swap between anything. Like your lighter and your gun. So you have to constantly swap back and forth, and maybe not constantly, but quite often enough that I'm like, wow, I really wish I could hit like 1 for the lighter and 2 for the gun and 3 for a different gun, but there's no such thing. So you find yourself going into your inventory and swapping when it's time to fight, and then going back to your lighter when it's time to explore a dark area. Just wish there was a keybind for that. Now, this game is pretty much an indie game. It's a small team developing the game, but they do have a publisher, P-Cube, and the team remains rather small, so I do still consider this an indie game, publisher or not. It's just a very small team, but I don't know the exact number. Maybe the dev can pop in and let us know some of those details. But graphically, the game is quite impressive. It looks good. It pays respects to the classic. It stays true to it, the way it plays, and the way it looks. Like, the environments look great. Look at the lighting. The lighting looks pretty cool, right? It looks good. The lighting, the shadows. Overall, I think it's a pleasure to look at. It is not rough on the eyes. There's some crazy scenes in this game. Also, there's a shotgun. And it does some work, yo. There's all sorts of different puzzles in this game, including like a Simon Says soda machine. All sorts of puzzles, from ones that require you to walk in a specific way, to others that require you to get these number sequences correct, and ones that require you to inspect documents and find out hints, and I'm gonna screw this up. Hey, got it! Some good puzzles in this game. I hope you like puzzles, because there's some that really do get you thinking. So I'm not gonna solve the puzzles for you guys, but this is only a very, very, very tiny part. But I was so blown away by the fact that the lock button on this floppy disk works when you're inspecting it. It kind of blew me away. That you could actually unlock and lock the floppy disk in the corner like that. I was like, what? That's so cool. And if you don't actually know how a floppy disk functions, you're probably not going to know the answer to this puzzle. So that's just one little thing you have to do for the puzzle, but it's a lot broader than that. So I just wanted to share that there's so much to these puzzles. They're so in-depth and cool and different, and something I haven't seen before in any sort of game like this. So nice job, guys. Developers, you guys have some awesome puzzles in this game. Alright, the pros, cons, and final thoughts. Got a little bit of Tormented Souls menu theme playing in the background. I hope you guys enjoy that like I do. Let's get started here. The puzzles are fantastic. They're so good. I honestly feel they're some of the best the genre has ever seen. You ever solve a puzzle in a game that you kind of get stuck on a little bit, and you finally solve it and you're like, yes! And you feel smart afterwards, right? You feel like, okay, I got some brains, man. I caught myself saying that a couple times, like, damn, I'm smart when you solve these things. Like, some of these are pretty damn good. 6 to 10 hours long. This game's longer than I expected. For an indie game, a survival horror indie game, that's actually quite long. I will admit that I got stuck for a while. When you're first playing through the game, and if you're not following a guide, when I played this game before it launched, so there was nothing to look up. There's no guides. Not that I would do it anyway. I really like, kind of learning and exploring on my own. I got stuck for a little while. And if you guys get stuck at all in the game, you need a little hint, and there's no guide, there's nothing you can do, let me know. I'm happy to help you guys in the comments. The game was longer than I expected. There is a speedrun achievement to complete the game in under 3 hours. That's going to be difficult, but it is doable. But you have to know where to go, you have to know all the puzzles, you got to know what you're doing, right? So, if you ever see a speedrun achievement like that, and you try to be like, oh man, the game's gonna be under 3 hours long, it's really not. It's much longer than that. So, I promise you'll get your money's worth from this thing. I love the environments. The design and the graphics. The graphics look great to me. I love the design of the zones. I love the lighting and the shadows. They look fantastic. And the design of the zones, God, I got something in my eye. It stays true to like what you would expect in the survival horror genre, right? The classics. Love it. The story was actually quite good. Now, I didn't comment on the voice acting throughout the video because I'm kind of on the fence with the voice acting. It's like, yeah, it's not the best, but neither was like the classic Resident Evils back in the day. It's like that was part of the, I don't know, it was part of the thing, part of the appeal of the game. Is it like some of it was kind of like you were almost a Jill sandwich. Like, stop! I'm a human. Human, Y-U-M-A-N, like that's part of the appeal of the game. So it's not horrible voice acting, and it's acceptable. But the story itself, while it is predictable, it's good. I felt like I wanted to keep going. I wanted to see the end. I wanted to see how it ended, and I hope you feel the same way when you play through the game. I hope you actually enjoy the story. And the game stays true to the classics, kind of like everything I already mentioned. It stays true to the classics. Like almost everything about this game it's classic, man. I love it. Cons: no keybind settings. You can't change the keybinds at all for anything. Well, for the controller, you can change A and B if using an Xbox controller. You can like reverse those two. That's it. But nothing on the mouse and keyboard can be changed. But the keybinds are actually good. I should say that the mouse and keyboard settings, I didn't even need to change anything. They were fine. They were good. But I still like the option to change them if I wanted. No option to quick swap between items, like between your lighter and your gun, like I mentioned before. It's kind of a bummer. A bit on the easy side for me. The supplies towards the end of the game, like if you don't play well, like you always gotta keep in mind that like, oh, I better save my supplies, and oh, let me not use too much ammo here, and oh man, I got hit too many times there. That's another heal I used. So as long as you keep your resources in check, like your supplies and stuff, you're gonna pretty much have no real issue in the game. So I wish there was difficulty settings to increase, the difficulty, how hard it is to get through the game. No new game plus or unlocks. I actually liked the game so much that this really did bother me. I liked it so much I was like, oh, I want to play again. I want to experience some sort of variation. Maybe like the enemies are different, they're placed differently, like a remix mode, you play through it again and the enemies are in a different spot. Harder enemies that you don't see till the end of the game are in the beginning, remix mode, or oh, you unlocked an SMG or a minigun or something, some unlocks. I like that stuff. So I was kind of disappointed to see that there was none in Tormented Souls. But final thoughts: Tormented Souls is one of the best games to ever be released in the survival horror genre. I mean that. If you're even a small fan of the classics, I can confidently say that you will love this game. I really hope Tormented Souls turns into a long-running series, because I would jump at the chance to buy every single one of them. I hope there's more Tormented Souls in the future. Developers, if you ever see this, please consider it. I hope this game sells well, so you're motivated to continue the series onwards, because it is awesome. I love it. Guys, I hope you love this game as much as I do, and you love this video as much as I loved making it. If you did like this video or loved it or whatever, throw us a sub, throw us a little like button, go down, scroll there, hit that little like button, and down below in the video description is going to be Discord link. If you want to chat, you have any suggestions for other games, videos, just want to talk, or join the Steam group and curator, follow, all that stuff. All that crap is below. If you like that stuff, please visit those links. Follow, subscribe, and YouTube, and all that good stuff. Anyway, guys, I'll catch you in the next video. Thank you very much for watching. Skip!